we continue to discuss the present and the future of the art fairs. I'm happy to introduce you to the moderator of our second panel today, the importance of art fairs in the art market to come. Paco Barragán is a Spanish art theorist, conference speaker, coach, and curator, and he's based in Madrid. Among other topics, Paco has focused his area of research in the history of art fairs, examining the ongoing evolution of the art fair phenomenon from a historical perspective. He authored 2 books on the subject, the last one, From Roman Feria to Global Art Fair, World Leads in 2020, and is a super interesting research. We thought Paco would be the most suitable person to lead this promising conversation, for which we are honored to have Ilaria Bonacossa, Director of Artissima Fair in Turin, and gallerist Thomas Krinzinger, based in Vienna. My gratitude to all 3 of you, and Paco, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Ilaria. Thank you, Thomas. I'm sure there's going to be an exciting panel. So the way I would like to work this out is that I will do a presentation of Ilaria and Thomas. Then we will articulate the topic around 4 themes. And then in the end, we can open up discussion to the audience, impressions, or even social media. Ilaria on my right, she has a thought-provoking CV, so I will only underline some highlights. Ilaria studied at the State University Milan, art history. She's an art historian, art critic. After that, she sort of crossed the channel and studied curatorial studies at Bard College and ended working for the Whitney Museum. But she decided to go back to Italy, and there she worked for 9 years for the Fondazione Sandretto Re Baudengo. In 2007, she was part of the jury of the Golden Lion in the Venice Biennale. And between 2010 and 2016, if I'm not wrong, she was the director of the museum at Villa Croce in Genoa, which is a museum specialized on Italian abstraction since the 30s on. And from 2017 on, she's the directress of Artissima, the experimental cutting-edge art fair in Turin. Thank you for being here. On my right, Thomas. Interesting person. Thomas is a musician and a composer, and also the director or co-director of the Galerie Krinzinger in Vienna. Now, the gallery was started in 1971, so it has a little bit more than 50 years. Exactly. So congratulations, because 50 years in such a competitive art market, it's really an extraordinary feat. Yeah. So good. The gallery is focused on performance, performative, body art related work. That's work with all these big artists like Marina Abramovic, Kader Attia, etc. They have curated like maybe presented more than, I don't know, 400 galleries, 400 shows, sorry. The presence at art fairs is also huge, amazing. I don't know if they participated 300, 400 or whatever, but any art fair you can imagine, Art Basel Hong Kong, Basel Miami, Freeze, Arco Madrid. I think not yet Artissima, is it?
We did also.
We did also. Good, good, good. I just... since some years, they also have the Krinzinger projects. Yes. It's another building, and it's a kind of artist in residence program, and which is not only in Vienna, but also in other parts like Croatia and so on. Mm-hmm. So thank you for being here. Before I start asking some questions to the panel members, I just want to show one image because I think it's important to contextualize where art fairs come from and how throughout history art has have been evolving. So we see here that it started as religious fair, the Roman Ferias Ilaria 200 before Christ. Then it moved to nature. It became the artisanal fair in Antwerp, Antwerpse Pand in 1470 and the Haagse Kermis in 1630. Then, as you all know, it became the industrial fair, the famous 1851, the Great Exhibition in London. And since end of the 19th century, I consider that we can properly speak of artistic fairs like the Paris Salon des Indépendants, the Army Show, what I call the first modern art fair 1913, then the contemporary art fairs, Art Cologne and Art Basel in 1967 and 1970. And then in the 90s, the global art fairs like Arco Madrid, Artissima, Art Basel, Hong Kong, and so on. Okay. How is the future fair going to look like? This is what we are going to discuss. Okay. My first question for Ilaria would be, how will or has this pandemic situation will affect the next art fair edition of Artissima, which will open on 5 November?
I think it affected very strongly the past edition, in the sense that we thought we could have the fair, a smaller fair, blah, blah, blah. We had to cancel. We had a good idea because Torino is in some ways like Arco. We are owned publicly by the museums of the city of Torino. So the museums thought, and this is great because our income as a fair goes to the museums to run in all the other good years. So in the bad year, the museum said, okay, this year, because also for museums, the programming was complex, we give the museums to Artissima and you can have a show with the galleries. So we worked in 4 weeks, asking the galleries if they were willing to have a sale show, which was something that used to, the Venice Biennial had all the works on sale until 68. So it's nothing, not so strange. And the galleries were enthusiastic. We were paying installation, text, insurance. The galleries were just shipping. And we did it. The day before the opening, our Minister of Culture decided museums were really dangerous and closed museums in Italy from October to the end of February. Hairdressers were open. I say this because it made me very mad. So museums were considered very dangerous. I think it was an issue that because it's the same Minister of Theatre and Music, he felt so bad of how these fields were going in economical collapse that he thought, okay, if I close also museum, all the culture sector is stopped and I'm not doing good to one and bad to the other. So at the end, we kept the shows. We had to turn them virtual and had Zoom visits and digital versions. We invited curators who lived in Torino to give tours. And, we tried to make it real. We managed to open it for 2 weeks and that was it. So we did experiment this idea of physical and virtual, which I think is one of the big challenges. We had to go virtual. We want to go back to physical, but we're not going to throw the baby with the water because there is things that virtual can give differently. You reach publics that not always come. We talk about it later. Go.
Thomas, you've been doing, before the pandemic, you've been doing the last, I don't know, maybe 10 years or more, you've been doing like 12 art fairs a year. How has the pandemic affected your relationship or your future relationship with art fairs?
Well, it changed a lot for all the galleries because, for all the galleries that are working on a global idea and working with art fairs. So we had to find other channels. And of course, we zoomed around the world the whole time. We wrote many personal letters. So at the end, the best reaction and what we learned out of it as a gallery, to have less but a very strong personal relationship with the artists, of course, that we always have, but also with the collectors. And also the collectors had more time. So besides the OVR rooms and all that, we tried really to concentrate on the necessities of different collections. And yeah, to have this, even the telephone became again a very
Useful tool.
important tool. So yes, that's how it affected us, and the only way out.
Yes. Okay, let me show you the first topic we're going to discuss. What you talked about, Ilaria, the digital. This is just an image I just took from OVR from Art Basel. Most of you will be acquainted with it. Just an image, how it looks like, you know. So, Ilaria, talking about the digital, what do you think can we do to make these digital art fairs maybe more user-friendly, in your opinion?
I mean, I think, and that's what we did, and we are kind of happy. My feeling was that digital bulimia was killing us. And that the one thing that makes digital great is if there's some storytelling with the digital.
Yeah.
I mean, we all had, you know, the Getty is opening the archive, MoMA is opening the archive, but are you really going to be alone 7 hours looking at art on a platform? I mean, there's a scope of human time which is different from the time a computer has. So we made our digital kind of small. We have this project called XYZ, which is at the end only 30 artists. But for all the 30 artists, there's an interview video with the gallerist, with the artist, historical footage or video materials, podcasts. So we tried saying, okay, when you go to a fair, what's the best experience you can have? Meet in the booth the artists, the galleries, and talk to them. So how can we give back that experience in your house? Obviously, you could do it with a small number because it's very expensive. We were paying for making these contents, but I think it worked because that's what we were missing, talking to the people and like you were saying, the phone call and this relationship. And then you realize that the digital can give you the idea of, you know, historical video of an artist can be put on and seen, and there is more you can build. But
so-
I think one big issue is time. We can't pretend that someone would be 2 days at the fair and will be online looking at the fair 64 hours. They won't.
So
They
here-
eat, they sleep.
So here's a clear strategy to offer less but more profound. So, Thomas, you have done, I've seen from the CV, you have done many digital art fairs, OVR, Basel, Arkansas. What is your experience?
One experience that is forgotten a little bit, we found out that there are fantastic artworks
Yeah.
and they just look horrible in the digital work. And you have artworks that look even better in
Yeah,
the digital.
yeah.
And I think this is a filter that is new to us,
Yeah.
and it's a little bit dangerous because we should not really use that filter. But that's something I learned. I never thought about that so much before, but this is something that we learned a lot. Yes, we participated, and as you said, it's also for us, it's impossible. After 1 or 2 hours, you have enough. It's not possible to have the same concentration. But still, each of these OVR fairs brought something. There was always an outcome. Contact, sales,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Okay.
So it made sense. Of course, I think you cannot really compare it to a real art fair. Of course not. But it was a tool and is a tool that, we can use. We have to develop it. We have to
So-
see how we can make it consumer friendly. Stupid word, but yes.
I thought, for example, about when I talk about user friendliness, I thought about maybe doing something with 360 degrees or more immersive. There is a show now at Galeria Sabrina Amrani That's also 360 degrees. So, I would like to offer a counter perspective, which is very interesting. And I'm going to quote, because this is Martin Margulis, the Miami-based collector, who just 1 week ago, he was interviewed and he said something very interesting. He said, I would strongly urge the designers on these online viewing rooms to simplify the format and not to go overboard with the technical hype and marketing add-ons. Collectors are interested in one thing, the art. Present the art clearly, quickly and succinctly without a lot of superfluous or unnecessary jargon. Don't crowd the art. This is the other perspective, which I find interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We move to the second aspect, the curatorial, museological aspect that I, as a curator, I'm particularly interested in, because these are some images of 2 art fairs, but practically art fairs everywhere the same, is this kind of white cube museology. So, Ilaria, you as a curator, and especially Artissima, as known for its curatorial input. Also, which is very interesting, is that most of the directors at Artissima think of Andrea Bellini,
Francesco
Manacorda, who was the director. They and yourself, they were curators. So, in your opinion, how can we make better curated booths or better presented? What's your take on that?
Well, it's funny because a bit like the quote you were reading, as a curator, when I go to fairs, I always go to the curated sections first.
Yeah.
And I was talking with a collector friend, and he told me, I hate these curated sections in the fair. I go to buy the art, let me look at the art in the galleries, and who cares? I go to the museums for the curated, which was a surprise to me, because I had always thought the other way around.
Yeah.
I think, though, that it depends what curated is. I mean, I think there is space to have focuses, especially if curated is, the galleries have to do their work. Like one day Jocelyn Wolf told me, he said, I want to curate my booth. It's my time. I work all the year round in my gallery. When I go to the fair, I'm the curator. I don't want the curator in it. And I agree. Yes. That said, there can be focuses which are interesting, like some young artists. We have the Illy Prize in Artissima for young artists that's been going on 19 years. And if you look at the guys who won it and girls, it's like super palmarès of great names. And we have a designy section focusing on the medium of drawing. So these things can make sense. Yeah. But I think we have to be careful not to go the other way around.
To over-curate.
Yeah, because also it's killing the biennials in a strange way. The fairs have substituted the world tour of biennials of the 90s.
Thomas, what is your take from your perspective as a gallerist about this curated element? How do you feel about it?
I think these are it's 2 worlds, and they have to live together. I mean, the perspective of a curator is, of course, another one of a collector. A collector, he wants to collect, he wants to find the piece he loves, he wants hopefully to buy it. And as a curator, you try to help people to understand different parts of the art world, or different artists, or different perspectives on art. So it's, I think, it's absolutely, it's like yin and yang maybe, or it's something that really has to work together. And I think we should be quite clear about these 2 worlds, because it's also very strange. There are some artists that are very well represented in the galleries and not in the curator, and vice versa, which I think doesn't matter, but as a phenomena, it's super interesting to see this.
I brought some images, of course. This is of examples of curated booths. This is Galerie Thomas. That was in 2016 Art Cologne. A very simple booth, red. It had only one artwork by Franz Marc, Die Angst des Hasen, the fear of the hare. Price 9.4 million. But it was wonderful. Another example here. This is in Basel, Miami, 2016. Galerie
Yeah.
Krinzinger.
I remember.
That
Yeah.
is the show curated by Norman Rosenthal and the exhibition designed by Claude Picasso. Okay. But here again, I would like to offer a counter perspective. So against this whole curated vibe, because the other day I was exchanging ideas with Anita Beckers, who is exhibiting, the Frankfurt dealer who is exhibiting here at the fair, about this curated element. And she said something to me very surprising and at the same time fascinating. She said to me that her experience is that the more curated the booth, the less sales. The less curated the booth, the more sales. I just leave it there for you. Okay? We just go to the next
It's either
element.
karma or
Okay, this is the third element that I would like to discuss with you, specialization. I mean, we hear Art Basel, Frieze, we could say the Documenta Art Basel and the Venice Biennale Frieze. Those big fairs will always exist. But maybe other fairs should have a more focused, be more focused in terms of the art they bring. So I start with you, Thomas. Let's talk about Vienna Contemporary. As you know, it was known for being the art fair for art from the former East Bloc. What do you think about that? Should fairs, smaller or mid-sized fairs, be more focused?
Absolutely. I think it's the only way that it works and that it will survive. I mean, everybody, if I go to Torino, I have a very clear focus. What is it about and what can I do in Torino? The Vienna Art Fair, they tried to focus on the eastern part of Europe because of the tradition and so on. A certain time when the Belgium Art Brussels was had a fantastic curator as so you knew that in Art Brussels you can and also coming here to Madrid to Arco, so all of these, let's say, important middle, they all already have their certain spirit, their
Focus.
yes.
Yeah. Like
And the
Arco,
better
Latin
the
America.
focus is, the preciser the focus
Yes,
is, the better it
better,
is. I
yeah.
think so. Yes.
Ilaria, I know that you at Artissima, you did the Hub Middle East section to focus on art from the Middle East. Tell us a little bit about it.
well, I mean, we are talking in the fair that invented the ideas of focusing on countries, which is at the end, if looking at your genealogy, it comes from the Expo Universelle, the idea of the countries. But it's true that, I mean, it's called Middle East in the sense, I think the focuses have to be quite broad. I don't think necessarily borders of countries make an artist nowadays. Maybe, yes, it depends. But contexts do. So there is something, if you're born in the Middle East, that artists maybe, study in Lebanon, then work in Dubai, then there is something, and you see it in the artists that they've looked at the same things. So for collectors, it helps them get a context and be curious. And it's also a very good way in for galleries that don't know the market, because at the end, it's true that entering a new market is complicated for a gallery. You go to a fair, you don't know collectors, you don't speak the language, you have to start. Maybe you have the best artists, but maybe you talk to, 10 people. If there is something that helps people come to you, it's easier to have a conversation, because these labels, which are simplistic, because I'm sure galleries working in the Middle East will have English artists, will have French artists, but it helps them enter markets, and it's a complicated thing for a gallery to enter a new market.
Yeah, very, very complicated. I'm interested in the specialization topic.
Yes.
Also because next image, which is a nice image, I think, art fairs like museums and biennials, and I would like to read just a little bit of the Tate vision, and it says clearly, we will seek to lead the sector in order to reduce environmental impact, acknowledging the climate emergency and responsibility to act locally and nationally. Okay, so we have also, and art fairs are affected by it, this need to deal with climate change, carbon print, and things like that. So I think that in a way, potential clients need to be more specific, more selective about which fairs they are going to attend or not.
I think this was in the air, and COVID kind of accelerated how we have to deal with this. We will go back a bit to probably how it was 20 years before. I don't think we will be zooming for 3 days to the biennial in Sao Paulo, then back. I mean, I think we will all be more conscious, but I don't think that will make maybe the art world less international. We will go bit back to the idea that, maybe a gallery in your city will be the one that brings you the international world to you. Because if you look, for example, in Italy, it's very clear when you look at the history of collections, what work was brought to Italy by the leading galleries, because those works entered the collection. The collectors weren't, traveling to New York to buy, because even if they were going to New York, when they were buying to the galleries they were comfortable. So maybe they bought in Cologne, in Milano, in Rome, and you really see this history in the collections. And I think we will a bit go back to that. I mean,
yes and no. I think it's a little bit dangerous. The last 1.5 years, since we do not have this international globalized contacts anymore, we are more and more focused in the region, in the nation, and all that stuff. I don't like it so much. So I think in the last, I can say it for our gallery, we developed a really deep relationship to our Indian artists, collectors, friends. We have a fantastic artist from Pakistan. We work a lot in Asia, in South America, of course, and so on. And I think, and these are the young artists I'm talking about, with the artist in residence program and so on. So I'm talking about artists between 30 and 40, and their language through the tools that we use, internet, etc. They're very close, but it's so important to go there, to be there, to also share. So I think because now everybody is, or it's so much in the air to stay more at home and to be, and globalization is bad and stuff. But on the other side, it's a little bit dangerous that it becomes too national, too regional. And for me, I have to say, it's one of the pleasures in what we do to give artists, though in this small country, Austria, in Vienna, a platform for international discussion. And that is what interests me.
Yes.
So it's yes and no. I think we have to think more, yes.
Yes.
You shouldn't fly somewhere just because you think, no, of course not. But I think we really need also this global, because our problems are also global, On the other side, if we as the art world, like a very high section in our society, if we stop that global discussion, then we go back to something very small, and I think that's also problematic.
It's a fair perspective.
Yeah. But maybe we can also, I think in a way the art world is in a big transformation.
Yes,
because if you think still, the size of the market is become like a multinational, but mostly the way galleries are run are still family business. It's maybe two people who have worked together and probably, if we think long term, I imagine that galleries will make kind of global alliances so that you can kind of be international, but maybe one gallery in Vienna, and galleries do it even if it's not officially always, but you have a gallery maybe in South America with whom you have 3-4 artists.
Network. We have a network. Yeah,
and this, I think, system of network will keep it global and also more local in sustainable ways, but also, like you say, with this perspective, are offering different platforms.
Yeah.
Okay. This brings us to the fourth element. I think it's interesting. The major challenge, collectors. Let me show you some images. So the supply side, let me, I just make a draw. Let me give you some data about the Spanish art market that I have consulted with Arte Informado. Okay, so according to them, there are like 30,000 active artists in Spain. Every year there are like 200 new artists getting to the art market, and they consider that there are around about 3,000 collectors, of which 1,000 are active in the sense that we consider a collector active if he buys more than 5 works. So 1,000, and then you have like 2,000 other collectors that buy 1, 2, 3. So from the supply side, of course, and I mean these data from Spain can perfectly be extrapolated to other countries. So we have a huge supply of artists, and then I have a quote here from Georgina Adams, from The Dark Side of the Boom, and she says, one of the main problems is that of overproduction, with some well-known artists locked into producing more and more works. She's talking about these 1% artists that the ultra-rich, ultra-high network individuals are buying, and forcing them to overproduce, like Ai Weiwei, Gilbert and George, and so on. So then we have the demand side. I don't know, but there are not universities yet where collectors can have that degree. But also, if the artist supply keeps growing and growing, because normally an artist keep working as long as he can, we see that the collector's side, it's a little bit different, because I experienced myself that many collectors stop buying because of reasons of space or because of other motivations. So what can we do, Ilaria, to broaden or enlarge the collectors base, and especially to not the 1% of collectors that most art fairs invite, but especially to those people that are professionals but are not particularly art collectors?
Well, I think on one side, I mean, it's what many people do who work in the business. It's trying to, support a younger generation of collectors and make them feel comfortable. And I think a big issue is, which wasn't there before, we are talking of collectors or we're talking of investors, because they're really two different things. And we have a huge growth of investors in art, and we don't necessarily have a huge growth of collectors, in the sense, obviously you had very rich people buying even in the 70s or the 80s, but the idea that they would make a huge profit by buying contemporary art was not their starting point. They were buying for a passion. So in a way, they went driving to the galleries, to the studios. I mean, the world was smaller, it was more complicated, but they were engaged. Sometimes now you talk to people who tell you names of artists like they're brands of fashion. They don't know, and they don't even know if they're buying a good piece or a bad piece. I mean, this is something it's not every piece of the same artist is worth the same. And so this is a big thing that's happened in the art world. It's not necessarily bad, because the idea that art is seen as an investment can create a good, younger people that are interested. It's true that it's strange, because you have super young collectors who immediately talk about what the price will be in some years, which is a strange perspective on which you're buying art. I mean, everybody hopes to buy not at the, peak of the price and then see it go down. But the idea is, I buy when I can afford it. If I wait, I won't afford it anymore. That's why I'm buying now and not waiting. Not I'll sell it as soon as the price goes up. That's speculation. It's not really collecting.
Well, this connection that has started, I don't know, maybe last 20 years, something like, between art and finance, that has turned art into an asset. It's really true. Thomas, what can art fairs do to create more collectors, or to create new collectors, in your opinion, as a dealer, experienced dealer?
I just wanted to say one sentence. The percentage of sales that are based on an economic reason is very small. at least in our gallery, and I would say more than 90% are really out of passion, out of knowledge, out of the need of the collectors. So this whole bubble of speculation, it is there, but in a very special segment of what we galleries are doing, and it's only. So I wanted to be very clear with that. What can art fairs do? The same that we do. It's at the end, it's knowledge, it's passion. So education, talking about art, bring it as close as possible, open doors. It's about communication, and art fair is a communication platform. So discussions like we are doing here, although it's just about the circumstances, but these talks about what is really this artist, what did he mean with this and that? So it's about that, and then you create understanding. Then you create also the wish to have.
Sometimes
to
I
live with
have,
art.
I don't know how you feel about it, but sometimes I have the idea or the impression that art fairs are just one, like a blockbuster during, 1 week or 1 month before, but I don't see them the rest of the year with other activities that would be necessary to create appreciation of contemporary art courses and things like that. What do you think about that?
We try to be active as possible all the year. On the other hand, you have to remember that there used to be 15 art fairs and now there are like 200. So you also have to be careful that you're not stepping on someone else's field in the other time. But I mean, at least that's what we do. We do small projects all the year round with galleries, with partners, because, maybe a sponsor wants visibility, not just in the 4 days of the fair. So you can do things by helping this relationship between the gallery and the industry, because artists are becoming super interesting and important for companies as, to do activities that can create awareness. And sometimes fairs can be really the good means to help a gallery work with a corporate brand to do projects. It can be a really good thing for the artist to have this kind of alternative way of doing projects, not just to sell to the collector, but in this. And I think this will be a big development of artist activity, and fairs can be really useful in that.
And that's one of the ideas of the reconstruction in Vienna also, to also give the possibilities to artists and in the public spaces all through the year. Of course, it's an economic problem. But it makes sense.
I will ask each one of them one question, and then we happily open the discussion to the audience or even social media. Ilaria, before the pandemic, we already heard this wonderful concept, art fair fatigue. What do you think were the reasons or elements that caused that, in your opinion?
Well, I think the fairs had become a bit only about sales and pushing and, going so fast. And maybe sometimes it was, not all the galleries, but in some galleries you even saw that you didn't have the work. And, I heard artists who sent something to a producer, the work was produced, went directly to the fair, was sold, and the artist never saw his artwork physically before it went to the collector. And, this is artists having shows in museums. I'm not talking of super blockbuster artists. It's just because the speed of the need, that was going the wrong way, I think. I think this stop has to bring back, and I think it's what the good galleries are having good results. It's going back to the quality and the work with the artist, the relationship, the content. And probably the other big thing is, it's not that everybody has to be everywhere. This is doesn't work. It's too stressful for the young galleries that, they have to brand themselves by being there. I heard this beautiful interview to Marion Goodman, who said young galleries are crazy. I waited like 12 years before I did my first fair. And I had to feel safe. I was selling and I was in that. Sometimes you see these galleries doing fairs where even if they sell out, they're under. And, they start pushing themselves in that level where I think it becomes super stressful. Even, telling an artist this work is horrible, don't go there, work again, because you have the booth, you have the fair, you have only 4 artists, you need the work. So I think this will be a big thing in reshaping the fairs, and probably also becoming a bit smaller, so that the time involved is quality time.
Thomas, let me ask you a more practical question.
Yes.
Do you think that the pricing structure of art fairs is appropriate?
This is a very difficult. No, because why? Because the structure of the galleries is so different, but it's also very difficult to find a solution. If you're a gallery where, let's just take a simple number, and you sell for 1 million in Basel, and you're another gallery with enormous quality and you sell 100. So these balances are enormous. But yes, it's super difficult to make it fair, difficult, because at the end it's capitalism, and you have these structures. Probably, and there were some that they get younger galleries get help from a collector or from probably even other galleries to develop their profile and to, but it's really hard, yes. And what is incredible that this the level always goes more and more in 2 different directions, and it has nothing to do with the quality of the artworks.
No, it's
It's
just
just
the power of
the
capital.
market. So and market should only be one layer of art fair. I mean,
Yes.
Okay.
that's the problem.
I'm happy.
But maybe I want to add on this. I think the first time I thought something had really changed in the art world was when I saw Damien Hirst's show at Punta della Dogana during the Venice Biennial. Because that show, in a way, was more visited than the Venice Biennial. And the power of money shown there was like shocking everybody. And I mean, I remember galleries, Italian galleries were going like, okay, I'm out. I mean, if this is the game, I can't play. It's like, I'm the local soccer team and this is UEFA. But my feeling is it's like the art world has entered the Hollywood phase, but Sundance Festival has existed. And, maybe the films you remember 20 years after are the Sundance. It's the big entertainment Hollywood movie that makes a lot of money, costs a lot of money, is made to make money, but it doesn't write the history of cinema. Then sometimes you have the blockbuster, which is remembered, but mainly they kind of go to leagues. One is playing to make money, invest a lot, action movie, blah, 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 blah. The other is making great movies so it's as if the art world is kind of a little bit going separate ways. And this split is in a way happening. The problem is the people who are in the middle.
Which is the main part still,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's most important.
Yeah.
We are talking about very strange
Polarization.
extremes.
Yeah.
There are like 8 minutes. We accept questions from the audience. Can you bring a mic over here? Un micrófono, por favor. No, ahí, aquí. We got one here.
Hi. So I had a question regarding the future and how art fairs are going to reshape, that is related to this new wave of digital art, NFT art. So since Ilaria mentioned that during the year fairs have other projects or they do sponsorships or things like this, I was wondering if, in your opinion, you see this NFT crypto art space as an opportunity or as a threat, and why?
I don't see it as a threat. I still think, sadly, that most of the works that were sold as NFT are really not very interesting as artworks. They were very good speculation projects. They took the worst of the art. They were sold and because people who collect NFT don't keep it. They sell them. It's kind of a very... But that said, conceptually, it's very interesting because at the end, NFTs is what I don't know how to call it in English, but when conceptual art was born, galleries had to invent a piece of paper that was saying you were buying an idea. And it really was, when you tell normal people still now, they're shocked that you buy a performance and you get a piece of paper. NFT is basically saying you're buying a unique digital thing, which is copied, but it's unique. So conceptually, there's nothing new to the idea of buying conceptual art. It's just moved to the digital realm. I believe good artists will make NFT because artists are interested in new things. At the moment, still, I haven't found that the artists that work with technology are playing that game. I think they don't really like the world of cryptocurrency around it. And, it's hardcore speculation. Artists are not super excited when their work is about buy it now, sell it tomorrow. But I don't know, I'm curious what you think about it.
I think it's possibly, or maybe it becomes a tool, one small layer. As you said, for example, Chris Burden's work, where you just, or from Marina Abramovic, we had the same. I think it's a big hype at the moment. We will see how it develops, but I think it probably could become a tool, a layer.
Well,
but that's it.
If I may add something, I'm not against it, but the only thing is that most NFTs I saw, and you've been very friendly expressing it, they were absolutely kitsch. I mean, horrible. Most NFTs are horrible.
But even late, like one NFT was like a diary, and you're like, okay, where was Kawara? I mean, are you really excited in 2021? Because someone did a photo every day for a year. I mean,
okay. More questions.
But, going beyond people and this piece that we all were surprised about from traditional artwork, it is, at least I see it as a new media.
We don't hear you very well.
Sorry.
No.
I was hearing me here. This is why I was talking slower. Okay, so I was saying, besides people, beyond people, there's a lot of artists or creators, no, that are appearing with this kind of new art or creativity, and I wonder if it could be part of art, of traditional art world, or how, because at the moment, as you said, we don't know. So we're gonna have to observe, I guess.
Yes.
And for the moment, we can only say opinions and bet on what will happen.
As soon as they present a fantastic artwork, and then
all the galleries will be interested.
So it's about quality, like in every media.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter which one.
I have one question from my Instagram for you, and it says, were the OVR fairs for you profitable?
At the end, yes. Okay. So it was. You can't compare it with the real art fair, but each OVR somehow brought new clients, some sales. It's not enormous, but yes, it made sense in this special time that we were in. Yeah.
Okay. Any more questions?
Yes, I have a question. First of all, I would like to thank you for this interesting conversation. I'm a predoctoral researcher, and I'm writing about socially oriented audience development strategies for the art fairs. And I'm interested in the role of the general audience in the art fairs, not collectors, not representatives of the art world, let's say, but the general audience. If you believe that art fairs in the future should be more inclusive, more diverse in a way, or because for now, they still perceive, even there are different activities performed, but art fair is still perceived quite elitist in a way. And also, I read one research when there was a survey posted to the art galleries during the art fairs to see their vision. And in fact, some of the gallerists were not happy when art fairs were trying to be more inclusive, to include wider, like general audience who are coming to the art fairs, the general leisure activity, because they were telling that this kind of audience, in a way, distract them from sales, distract them from the clients. So, like, no, really, it was a bit shocking for me to read, but it was a research that
I can,
No, no, I understand.
I can answer
I
you
would
from
like to
the
know,
fair
yeah,
point
like-
of view.
I would like
I
to know.
think until the income of the fair is made like 85% by what the galleries are paying,
Yes.
it's fair that the gallery's interest is the prime interest. So general public, like huge crowds, is not the gallery interest. If not, we would have to find a way that, and I even proposed it at one point, but my CEO wasn't so interested, that the money from tickets is redivided with all the galleries taking part, because without them, you don't have the show.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
if
yeah.
you make money from the show, which is not the core business, it has to be in a way shared.
Yes.
The
But-
issue is interesting what you say of social media, because when we work on social media, it's very clear what you're doing on social media for the art world and what you're doing in social media for social media. It's kind of, they're completely different projects. So there is things that, you know, engage your collector audience, the galleries and things, and there are things like guess the artist, or, you know, more like social media normal things that create engagement around the project of a fair. But it's true that people come to fairs and, you know, they're not even, I mean, at least this happens in Torino, general people, they're not even so aware that things are on sale. They come like it's an exhibition of what is the
For me,
contemporary.
as a gallerist, I have to say that I think it's very important that we have these public days, because it's very necessary. If we would, we discussed that quite often in other committees of art fairs, if we would do only like 3 professional days and then you close it. For me, the idea is strange, because if we just want to make money, I could deal with everything. Why should I deal with art? Makes no sense. So what is very important is this dialogue, to discuss these ideas from the artist, to discuss different sculptures, paintings, whatever, and to have younger generations. They learn, they see, they come. For example, in Miami, it was incredible. The first years, or the European, and there were no locals there.
Yeah.
And now, Saturday and Sunday, it's full of locals. It's full of kids. Of course, it's sometimes you have to take care that, but it's so important. It's the one and only week where you have really this massive information about contemporary art, and that changes something. So it changes also that now, in all these years, you have a younger generation of artists also located there. And if we don't give that back, I mean, then we can do something else. We can sell diamonds or something else.
Thomas,
Makes no sense for me. So it's
this-
necessary, yes.
This reminds me when Arco was the world champion of art fairs with more than 100,000
Yeah.
visitors. You reminded yourself. You remember?
Yes, of
with
course.
lots of students and things like that. And that was, of course, it was downsized, but yeah, this educational element is important.
Yes.
Ilaria, grazie. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
for being
much.
much. Thomas, danke.
Danke dir.
And thank you for being part of this panel. And I hope this continues and makes us much interesting, because knowledge is important and to share it too. Thank you. Ciao.